one thing I noticed with the 5 regional races going on this weekend is none of them were on, and I don't mean this criticizing. I'm not trying to criticize anyone, but none of those were on Flow, right? And we live in a world where we're used to being able to stream those events. Click on Flow Racing, there they are. And not a single one of the races we've talked about here were on Flow. And I felt like it was a rude awakening for people when you had 5 regional events and 4 of them. I don't know about Carolina Clash, but I know obviously the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series was streamed on Hunt the Front TV. Northern All Stars streamed on Dirt 2 Media. Yeah, you had Comp Cams on Race On, and ULMS at Pittsburgh was on the Cushion, I think.
I think so.
But so obviously those are 4 separate streaming platforms, and I felt like, I don't know, obviously, full disclosure here, we own a streaming platform, Hunt the Front TV, and I felt like these 4 streaming platforms were getting the blame, and the series, the various series is getting the blame for those, not for people having to have 4 different platform subscriptions or pay-per-views, whatever you want to call it, to watch these events. Did y'all kind of catch that a little bit as well and feel a little, I mean, I don't know. It's just a little frustrating to me, and I wanted to get on a high horse or a soapbox, whatever you want to call it here for a second on that, I guess.
Well, okay, while I see where you're coming from, I could also, I kind of feeling a little, it's harder to keep up with. Like, for me, I like going to Flow, watching highlights. I have Flow, and I have Hunt the Front TV and Dirt Vision, those few. But when it comes to I don't know, it is harder to keep up with as a race fan.
And then obviously it costs more.
And it obviously costs more to have all the subscriptions. So I don't know where you were going with it, but I don't know. It has to. I get why it has to be done the way that it's done.
Well, that's at the same time, I think that's where I was going with it.
I get that, but at the same time, I can be the fan. Why can't they all be on Flow?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: do you want to watch them?
Yeah, I do.
Well, yeah, it has to be this way, right? Do you want to watch that show? If you wanted to watch Comp Cams, if you wanted to watch Comp Cams this past weekend, you had to watch on Race On because they are
they're footing the bill.
It's not their fault that they are the ones streaming it, right? Like, it's not the Cushion's fault. That is not any of our fault that these races aren't on Flow.
Yeah.
I mean, not to throw Flow under the bus, but they strategically, as a company, made a decision to pull out of regional racing just about entirely, right?
Yep.
What were we supposed to do? Like, we didn't. We had to go to our own route, and we did.
That's another thing I see is, why ain't Hunt the Front on Flow?
In most cases, it is not the series pulling their stuff off of Flow, okay, or any of the other platforms. And so if you wanted to watch, if Dirt 2 Media didn't stream Florence this weekend, there's a good chance that race didn't get streamed. All right,
and probably doesn't pay $1,000 to start. Possibly, right, I don't know.
There's probably that too. I don't know. I would assume the same with the Cushion streaming, or whoever, with the whole streaming situation and at the ULMS, that I don't. It aggravates me, and I understand as a fan, you don't understand the business models and how this works, but you're cutting down and criticizing, posting negatively about a company that is providing you a service, right? That if they didn't provide it, would not be there. You would not have the option to sit at home and watch this race if that company was not providing you that service. And unfortunately, they have to charge you for it, just like every other business in America has to charge you to provide you a service and to pay their people.
The other option is pay-per-view every event. How much do you think these events are going to be? How much would Talladega have been?
A whole lot more. You'd be spending a whole lot more, unless you're just watching one-off races here and there. And just like us, most of our events work if you know how to go, and it's very simple. You go, to cancel our subscription, it works like a pay-per-view. And, so you can pay $29.99. You could, if we had a pay-per-view Talladega, it would cost more, at least it probably costs more than $29.99 to do a pay-per-view for Talladega this weekend. Just the way this business model and the economics of it work, you don't want the sport to go back to doing all pay-per-views. I promise you that you don't want that. And in the bigger picture, would it be nice to put them all on the same platform and have it all?
How much would that platform have to cost though? That's just not feasible.
It's not 150 a year. I'll tell you that much.
That's the problem with Flow, and where they ran into is when they got Lucas Oil High Limit in their series, is they no longer had the money. They couldn't afford to have all the regional tours too, right?
for what they were
Um,
charging.
and that's just, I mean, I know you'll never fans. There will be a lot of fans, racers, and folks that will never take the time to understand that and will post negatively all day. It seemed like I said, it was a lot of it this week. I'm sure that's not going to continue because they don't understand it. They just say that's more money out of my pocket, right? But that's the nature of it. Like, it's just the money's not there for it all to be on one
Yeah.
platform. If
Right.
you want to watch it,
It's
you got to pay for it.
And
That's
and
what
I
it
think
is.
it's because that's what they were used to. And the fans were used to it being that way. And
mhm.
I think what they don't understand is if Dirt 2 Media or the Cushion or these people don't go cover these races, Flow's not going to do it regardless whether them other companies did it or not. It would not have been on Flow. It just would not have been streamed, period.
No, it would have
Right.
been a pay-per-view and you'd had to have paid $50 or for
Yeah,
that
it'd have
one
been
event,
outrageous. Right.
And I get it. My point with that is I understand your frustration. I'm a consumer too of this
Right.
product, and it is expensive. You just have to decide, what do you want to pay to watch. It's
Right.
just like, I'll be honest with you, for the first time in, I don't know, 10 years, 9 years, my wife and I, we canceled Netflix because we weren't watching it and it cost too much. And we were watching, I wanted to get over on Apple TV because dang, what's the show? I ain't even watched it yet.
The Up in the Air,
Yes,
the
the
pilot
in the
one?
air, the World War II show about the pilots, and so her allowing me to go subscribe to Apple TV, the compromise was I had to cancel Netflix. And then I got to thinking, well, what's on Netflix? I haven't watched anything in a while. But guess what? If something comes out, Stranger Things, if they ever come out with another season, I'm gonna go renew my Netflix and watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all remember when Netflix was $9.99? It's
Yeah.
17. It's 17 down.
No. It's more than that for the full thing. Full on things like 24 something.
Yeah.
You can
Oh
get
hell, I don't even have that then.
you can get a limited something. It limits how many different accounts can watch for that 17. That's what I had. But anyway, my point there is, you as a consumer have to understand that these streaming platforms, the series and the tracks, they're doing what they have to do to put on these events, because streaming brings in revenue for the events, but also they're doing what they have to do to give you the option to the opportunity to watch this. And if you don't, if you can't afford it, I get that. And I understand, and it is frustrating. I know that. And if you don't want to pay for it, I get that too. But it's not the tracks, it's not the series, it's not the streaming platform's fault.
It's the same way as how you're having to say, okay, what is more worth it? I have this platform and this platform, or I got to drop this one. Well, essentially, that's what Flow had to do as well.
Yeah.
Do we stream this or this? We got to drop this. It's the same concept.
Hey, just be glad you live in a world where you can watch. You have the opportunity to watch. 10 years ago, you didn't. 20 years ago, you had to wait on the newspaper, the Motorsports Weekly. You know what I mean? Like, I remember waiting at the mailbox for the dang Motorsports Weekly to come in so I could see what happened. And then it was 4M, then it was Facebook, and the racing, the apps, the race monitor, but now it's like, I'm glad I have the opportunity to watch these races, and if I can't afford one, that's on me for not being able to afford it. You know what I mean? That's on me for being broke. And I am. I'm right there with you. I don't have them all. I can't afford them all.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I want to say this: like, if you're, like, look at it like this. In most cases, and you can tell if the streaming is giving back to the sport, right? Like, like, I mean, that's one thing. Like, where do you think the extra 100 grand in our points fund came from? Right? Like, it's streaming. Why do you think all our Saturday races pay at least 15,000 to win, 1,000 to start? Right? That's the streaming money Hunt the Front TV brings in. We are helping the tracks make those payouts. We are literally writing checks to the track so they can make those payouts. Right? We are paying our points fund. Like, we are increasing, we hope, and I think, improving the sport at the regional level in the Southeast. When we're doing that, obviously there's other, like, we're trying to get crowds to the, people to the track as much as we can. We're running ads on Facebook, helping promote the events too, not just our streams. But, a lot of that, comes from us being able to do this, comes from streaming revenue.
Right.
Same with the other series. If you see them increasing, like at Florence this past weekend, that race paid 1,000 to start. It's paid, I think, 10,000 to win for a while, I think. But the 1,000 to start, probably a lot of that has to do with the streaming revenue. I would hope that is they're helping the track with. Like, our points funds, and watch. I hope that when you see these streaming companies supporting, signing with series and everything, that you see that come filtering back through to the drivers, right? With points fund increase, bigger payouts, and all that. So if you're seeing that, then understand that's coming for streaming. If you're not, then just where do you choose to spend your money, right? Because I promise you, if you're seeing these races paying more and points funds paying more, that streaming company has helped do that, and they're
Right.
supporting it, and they would appreciate you supporting them, or at the very least, not posting negatively about them.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's my rant for the day.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry for our yeah. Hey, I've been wanting to say that for a minute. That's all. But hey, if you're on Hunt the Front TV, if you're on Flow, if you're on whichever one, the cushion race on it's supporting the sport.
The sport appreciates you.
Yeah. And I can tell you from no one's ripping you off. I mean, it cost a lot to put. How many people did we have there at Talladega for the streaming, Joshua?
Again, like in total, we had 23 people
paid people being paid to put on that event just from the series and streaming.
They are not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
On production side, depending on where you put announcer and social media guy, to me, they're kind of work both sides. But if you're just purely talking about production, man, I wish I should have known this and had the numbers, but it's 12. 11 or 12, and then you, like I said, is Lenny, production, or is he series as a series announcer? Is our social media guy who's doing content on both sides? You can say it's close to 15 people to do that production, right? That have a hand in that production. It's not, it's not like we're just the camera and taking your money.
Someone could write a book on this, a column on this. It'd be called The Decentralization of Dirt Late Model Streaming. It got too expensive to be centralized in one or two places is what it comes down to. Where tracks wanted more money in LA. If you're complaining that streaming is taking away from people sitting in the stands, well, then the answer there is to increase the price of the stream. You know what I mean? So that people will be less likely to sit at home, more likely to go to the track. Anyway.
And you're giving some.
We can move on. Dead horse. We're beating the crap out of it.
That horse been dead.
Thank y'all for supporting. If you're on Hunt the Front, thank you for supporting it. Whatever ones you're on, thank you for supporting those, because it does support the sport.